Good morning, YouTube. Yep, you hear it. Labor Day morning ride in my Royal Enfield. Looks like a little police action going on here. That would be your welcome to Tucson. So since today is a United States Labor Day holiday, I thought I'd go ahead and venture downtown. So coming downtown it used to be a treat for me, but they installed this trolley down here. It runs about 3.5 miles. I've got all sorts of colorful things to say about the money spent on 3.5 miles, but I'll reserve my colorful renderings for the state of the railroad tracks down here. The tracks have a large gap between the rail and the surface of the street, and for smaller motorcycles like mine, unless you have a really wide tire, unless your tires are 4.5 to 5 inches wide, they can slip in there, get pinched, put you off your bike. So I typically avoid downtown, but the route I'm going to be taking through downtown today, as you can see, is straight ahead of us. The route I'm taking today will treat us right. We're going to go through there, and we'll be able to cross most of the tracks parallel, perpendicular. We'll be able to cross the tracks perpendicular. Boys and girls, you do not want to cross railroad tracks parallel. At any rate, so you'll get to see a little bit of what Tucson looks like downtown. We're in a stretch here known as the Miracle Mile. We actually have a road called Miracle Mile as well. The place used to be lined with motor lodges. To some extent they still are, but many of the motor lodges expired in the late 80s, early 90s, from their usefulness in their heyday in the 70s. And that can really be told by the styling and building design. So this is my little hometown. Tucson, if you don't count the illegal alien population, is probably sitting around just under 1 million people in Tucson and its surrounding communities. Very spread out, very spread out. I hazard to say that most other cities this size, the downtown would be a lot bigger. You'd have a lot more development. Tucson really spreads out. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever made it all the way downtown without hitting a light. I guess there's a first time for everything. It was a tunnel, I had to. So there we go. I'll do a little chin up and get a look around. This isn't always good. Oh, here we go. One of the unfortunate aspects of riding downtown on a holiday like this is that many times the signal lights won't recognize your presence. But I gotta tell you, I've never breezed, ever breezed. There's our trolley tracks. I've never ever breezed through downtown Tucson without hitting a light. Well, that was amazing. Did you folks enjoy it? St. Augustine Catholic Church. Beautiful, beautiful construction, beautiful architecture. Tucson Police Department. And yes, I'm speeding right by. So riding through Tucson is, you know, for me, I actually like it here. So, you know, there are a lot of folks that perhaps don't see, I don't know, the value, and the place in many ways is in decline. But there's still something to be said about it, and there are lots of things to like. This intersection right here in Tucson is known as 5 Points, as the 5 intersections, 5 streets that intersect here. Again, I'm not sure if the traffic light will recognize me here. I don't know if you folks can see them, but on top of the light poles out here, they have little cameras, and those cameras are supposed to use infrared and motion sensors. But they don't always catch the motorcycles. Alright, so you got to see a quick look at downtown Tucson. I'm gonna, I don't know, I think take 22nd over to Silver Bell, and we'll ride Silver Bell up, maybe Ina, and loop back around on Sunrise, and that's really where most of the vlog will take place. So I'll probably cut out a lot of this. Okay, so from my last MotoVlog, I had done my morning commute, and I had intended to do my afternoon commute as well, but a little something happened. On my way home, my visor came loose. That's the clear lock up and lock down visor that I have on the shield that I have on my helmet. This helmet also has an internal shield, sun shield, that I use, and I like using that because I wear glasses, and you know, having a different pair of glasses on you for everything from riding to not riding and everything else, just having to switch all that stuff around is a pain. The easiest way for me to do it is by using this helmet. I can put my regular glasses on. I have sun shield that comes down, and then I have the windscreen. But I'll continue here in a minute after we get through the intersection. I just have to remember I was talking about windscreens, not get through the intersection and start talking about something else. So I'll get through this one, and the other one will change. This is what usually happens. So as I was saying, I have the clear shield on the outside. Well, that clear shield, where it clips and connects to the helmet, the part that it connects to had come loose. Now, I'm not talking about the shield itself. Those have a quick disconnect, so you can take them off and clean them or put on a tinted shield or something like that. No, this was actually what the hinge that it plugs into, that the quick connect plugs into. So that had come loose, and right as I was starting to MotoVlog on the way home, I went to go pull my shield down after a traffic light, and lo and behold, it wouldn't close. It was like I was all off center, it's cattywampus. So I ended up pulling over to the side of the road. Here we go. We're right in front of A Mountain now, if you've ever been to Tucson. That's A Mountain. It's a nice little ride up there. And I got a little scenic lookout not real kind to motorcycle riders up there. You park your motorcycle up there, someone will come and park a car right next to it, up against the wall, and you're at their mercy until they decide to leave. So anyway, the hinge had come loose. So I had to pull over, get my toolkit out, and resituate the thing, which I did. Now, since that day, I like this bend right here. Since that day, I've since purchased first things first. I fixed the visor, and then when I got home, I additionally backed the screws out again and added a little bit of blue Loctite to them and sealed them back up again. So the visor's working great, no harm, no foul. Only it ended up ruining my MotoVlog, because as I put my helmet back on, apparently when I was fidgeting and fumbling with the helmet, I had apparently knocked my camera out of the alignment that I had painstakingly gone through the process of setting. And by painstakingly, what I mean to say is, what the heck is this? Is this England? We got ourselves a bona fide roundabout here. So my ride home consisted of me motovlogging, talking about things that were going on in front of the bike, and my camera was pointed almost directly down at the top of my gas tank. Now that leads me into several things. The first will be this, another lesson on Royal Enfields. The seated position on a Royal Enfield is very different to most cruiser bikes. For those that have ridden the older classic British motorcycles, you already know the posture on these bikes is one of sit up and beg, as it's commonly referred to. And the sit up and beg position means that I'm sitting way up and over the handlebars, the clock, the nacelle, where the instrument gauge is housed. And so what happens is, in order for me to frame the video that you see with the camera on my helmet, I have to get just the right angle. Otherwise, all you're staring at is the gauges on my bike and the road about 30 feet in front of me. So I try to avoid that. I'd like for you folks to be able to see the scenery, but at the same time, and I've discussed this with some other motovloggers, I like for you folks to be able to see some of the bike too. You know, whether it's the controls, you can see how I F up the clutching, or maybe braking at the wrong time, but also so you sort of get the sense that you're on the bike with me, or that you're the one riding. And I don't know why, but it seems kind of hokey, I guess, but that's one of the aspects I like about watching motovloggers. So the guys with the cameras mounted way up on top of their helmets and stuff, where you don't see any of the bike, and it's like the point of view really feels like, well, this is Superman, and we're flying, 6 feet off the ground. That being another issue, in addition to the posture and overlooking the camera angles, overlooking the instrument panel, is that I'm 6 foot tall, so you add that factor into already this kind of seating position. For example, I've ridden a friend's Harley, I've ridden another Victory, test ridden several bikes, and all of them sort of do this thing where you're really sitting low in the saddle, and the bike sort of rises away from you. And so if that were the case, then maybe adjusting the camera angle on my helmet would be a little less of an issue. Because then no matter what, at least part of the bike, handlebars and whatnot, is going to be framed in that point of view. But it doesn't happen that way for me on the Enfield, and it's perfectly fine. I just, in the past, what I was doing, and previously what I'd done, was to shoot a small video with the camera on, make several adjustments, make an oral declaration of what adjustment it was. Was it a number 1? Was it a number 2? Was it a number 3? And then I go back and watch the sample video and decide which position was best. And I would go for that. Well, the day that I fixed my visor, it was Friday on the way home from work, I had bumped it and I didn't know it. So by the time I got home and looked at the MotoVlog footage, the raw footage, and everything was staring right down at the gas tank. So I didn't bother using it because I figured, what's the value of looking at my gas tank while I'm talking about all sorts of silly stuff? Part of that MotoVlog was to try and get you guys interested in, or not, I don't know, interested, but to let you folks see the different ways that I vary up my ride to and from work. Part of it's just to see something different now and again, and another part of it is simply to avoid some of the heavier streams of traffic. So as I'm heading up Silver Bell, this road here, Tucson, runs up the west side of Tucson. Some of it's pretty and some of it's ugly. Rather than talking about what's in front of me, I actually came on board with a topic that I'll go ahead and cover with you, and I'll show you some pictures. I'll insert some pictures as I describe what it is I'm talking about while we cruise up Silver Bell Road here. So you see these grooves in the road right here that I keep running over? Many of them, you have to run over them. They're like these giant seams where the pavement was cut. Well, the old tires that were on this bike, they were the stock tires. And those stock tires, the bike is 2002. They were, what, 12 years old? So those stock tires were 12 years old, probably manufactured 13 or 14 years ago. They were Avon, I forget what they were called, but they're lovingly referred to in the Royal Enfield community as skid masters. Now, don't get me wrong, Avon makes some good tires, and these tires had a retro design to them. It had that ribbed front tire and what almost looked like a, not quite a dual sport, but an old school rear tire. And they certainly fit the look of the bike. I didn't have an issue with the way that they looked. And the bike, because it had so few many miles on it when I got the bike, the tread on them was actually really, really good. But they'd become kind of hard. And even though I went and put a couple thousand miles on them, just because I was too cheap to go ahead and replace them. I decided after the last group ride I did, where I felt myself having to pull up out of some turns just because the wheels' grip on the pavement felt a little questionable. So I ended up going and getting new tires. And these tires are awesome. The front tire is a little bit wider. Obviously, it's got a modern tread pattern, so it doesn't quite fit the classic look of the bike, which I'm okay with because I'll take safety and function over style a lot of times. I don't think it hurts the look of the bike that much. Honestly, I'm not sure anybody else but me pays that close attention to it. But the ride quality is so much better. It's unbelievable ride quality. And these little seams that I was telling you about in the road, these little cracks that you end up having to ride right along with, either parallel to them or sometimes because of the changing of the lane or what have you, you end up having to ride into them. Well, on those old tires, parts of that rib tread would just sort of flex and kind of get wedged in there, and you momentarily feel like you're losing control of the bike. And, you know, I learned from riding dirt bikes that you sort of let the front wheel you let the handlebar undulate and vibrate and do what it needs to do, and you keep a loose grip on it. You keep just enough grip to do your counter steering, just enough grip to keep the throttle on unless you have a throttle lock. And I'd learned, see this seam right here, that would have bothered me on those old tires. So if you've got old tires and you're not liking the way that your bike rides, do yourself a favor and go out and get some new tires. I guess that's the point. So the old tires were the stock Royal Enfield Avon tires. I think they were called Speed Masters. We call them Skid Masters. And I replaced those with some Shinko 777s. So Shinko 777. It's a 3.5 inch front, 3.5 inch rear. Although it doesn't seem like they come measured that way. It was, gosh, what was it? I don't know, 100 by 80 by 19, something like that. But I got to tell you, they feel really, really good, and I will vouch for them. I've put right around 400 miles on them already, and I like it. Hey, here we go. I told you there were a lot of motorcycle riders in Tucson. And here's a whole bunch of them right here. I may even know some of these guys. Okay, I don't. That's some big bikes though. I think every single one of them was a liter or bigger. So that was Silver Bowl Road. We made it up to Ina. Those Catalina mountains that you see right here in the distance. We'll be up on them here in just a little bit. Oh, here we go. One of the unnerving things about having a pretty British girlfriend, I'm talking about the bike, one of the unnerving things is the way people stare. Hey, there I am in the ambulance. How you like that? Here's a handsome guy. Folks in the ambulance are going, what's this guy doing? One of the unnerving things about having people admire your bike, you're riding down the road, is that they'll get right up, right on the edge of your peripheral vision so they can stare at the tank and try and figure out what make and model it is. And then they ride there for a long time, so it gets a little unnerving because you can just see the beak of their car just barely in the corner of your eye. So then you give them a look, sort of a, hey, what's going on over here? And sure enough, they're staring at your bike, and sometimes they'll actually be pretty careless about it, and they'll start target fixation, moving into your lane. Something I neglect to legitimately cover. People aren't always just staring at the motorcycle because they find it fascinating. Sometimes they find it fascinating that such a big guy is on such a little bike. I often make the comparison to a bear on a bicycle or a bear on a tricycle. Have you seen like the trained Russian circus bears? There you go. If that imagery doesn't help you understand what it is I look like on this little bike, I don't know what would. Hello, YouTube. No, I can't steal his.